I got access to the legal documents that were never meant for the public to see. Inside them, a $125 million lawsuit filed against the developers of one of the most expensive residential towers in America, 432 Park Avenue. What was promised as a symbol of ultimate luxury turned out to be a vertical disaster. Over 1,500 construction and design defects were uncovered, not in individual apartments, but in the very bones of the building itself. And here's the part no one tells you. Even the residents, billionaires who paid up to $100 million for their homes, have been trying to keep all of this hidden. No YouTube video, no TikTok tour, no glossy real estate ad will ever mention the truth. Because once you see what's really happening on Billionaires Row, you'll realize that this isn't just a luxury scandal. It's a warning. What went wrong in the tallest, most prestigious condos in America? And why are the people who live there doing everything they can to bury the truth? This is the secret behind the skyline, and it starts right here. If you're into unraveling real stories behind the world's most expensive places, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what they don't want you to know. In a city known for studio apartments with fold-out beds and windows the size of a microwave, Tower 157 offered something unthinkable. Space, private gyms, private libraries, living rooms that stretched the entire width of the building, and the kind of view over Central Park that no amount of Photoshop could ever recreate. With an average listing price of $22 million, it was marketed not just as real estate, but as a gateway into an elite society where only the ultra-wealthy could belong. But when even New York's richest residents couldn't afford to buy in, the target shifted. Foreign investors, hedge fund managers, executives who had no plans to live here, just to park capital. And somehow, while these towers soared higher into the clouds, their property taxes stayed shockingly low. Here's the twist. The owner of a $100 million penthouse on Billionaires Row, they're paying the same annual property tax as someone who owns a $1 million home in Staten Island. Why? A legal classification loophole that treats luxury towers like ordinary residential buildings. And just like that, the richest people in America found a way to live above the law, literally. So how exactly does a $100 million penthouse escape taxes that a middle-class homeowner can't avoid? It comes down to a simple loophole: property tax classification. New York City doesn't tax based on how much a property is worth. Instead, it uses 4 categories: small residential, large residential, commercial, and industrial. And towers like 157 or 432 Park, they fall under large residential, the same category as apartment blocks in Staten Island. That means a billionaire at the top of Billionaires Row pays the same tax rate as someone in a walk-up building 20 miles away. It's not fiction, it's on public record. Even former Mayor Bill de Blasio, who owns 2 homes in Brooklyn worth over $3 million, only paid $7,000 in property tax last year. But while everyday New Yorkers are being squeezed harder each year, the owners of these vertical mansions are not only avoiding taxes, they're leveraging that break as an investment strategy. That's why the ultra-wealthy flooded in. Not for the views, not for the space, but because Billionaires Row became the perfect place to store money, quietly, legally, invisibly. And in 2014, things escalated. 432 Park Avenue, the tallest residential building in the entire Western Hemisphere, was completed, a monolith in the clouds. It looked like perfection, but beneath the mirrored glass and $169 million listings, a structural nightmare was silently unfolding. And no one, not even the richest residents, was ready for what came next. It wasn't just a few angry tenants. It was the entire board of 432 Park Avenue, formed by the residents themselves, filing a $250 million lawsuit against the developers. The complaints? More than 1,500 structural and design defects. And that's not including the issues inside individual units. Let's start with the noise. At over 1,396 feet tall In a slim 15-to-1 height-to-width ratio, 432 Park was built to slice through the sky. But to reduce wind resistance, engineers left open-air gaps every 12 floors, allowing gales to pass through the building. The result? Loud, intrusive howling, enough to keep residents awake even in mild weather. But that was just the beginning. The building's sway, unnoticeable in normal skyscrapers, began interfering with the elevators. Multiple families reported being trapped for hours during windstorms with no way out. And then came the water damage. Floods sweeping through hallways. Electrical failures. One repair worker even drilled into a live wire, causing an explosion that cost $1.5 million in repairs and knocked out power to multiple units. The developers allegedly refused to take responsibility. Instead, they blamed the residents, delayed fixes, ignored safety concerns, and slowly the truth began to leak out. Not just water through the walls, but pages of legal filings, emails, internal memos, revealing what may be the biggest luxury real estate disaster in New York history. And the worst part? They tried to keep it all quiet. Despite the growing list of complaints, the developers stood firm, denying responsibility at every turn. The residents, desperate for answers, hired an independent engineering consultant to inspect the entire building. The findings were staggering. Out of the 1,500 plus reported defects, the developers claimed to have resolved hundreds, but when the consultant checked, only 9 had actually been fixed. 9. The rest, ranging from failing ventilation systems to fireproofing issues, remained untouched. And yet, no one was talking about it. Because here's the dirty truth. These multi-million-dollar condominiums weren't just homes. They were investments. And the last thing investors want is a headline that tanks property values. So the problem stayed buried, behind locked doors, behind PR statements, behind silence. But 432 Park was never the only one. Central Park Tower, casting a shadow so large it blocks sunlight from entire stretches of the park, houses 179 units, but only 30 full-time residents. 53 West 53rd Street is over 50% empty due to poor lighting from a design flaw no brochure ever mentions. And 111 West 57th Street, the thinnest skyscraper on Earth, has been shedding massive glass panels onto city streets during construction. In the pursuit of height and luxury, safety became optional. And for the ultra-wealthy floating above it all, truth was just another thing to keep out of view. But 432 Park, Central Park Tower, and 111 West 57th, they're only the buildings we know about. 520 Park Avenue, 220 Central Park South, 252 East 57th Street, 3 more addresses, each one built for the ultra-wealthy, each one now whispered about, not for their glamour, but for what's starting to go wrong. In a city where rent prices are breaking records, developers chose to chase billionaires. But now those same billionaires are fighting back, filing lawsuits demanding hundreds of millions in damages. The irony? What was designed to be the safest investment in the world is now becoming a legal and structural minefield. And this isn't just a New York story. The blueprints of Billionaires Row, tax loopholes, silent investors, hidden flaws, they're already being copied in other cities, from Dhaka to Dubai, from London to Sao Paulo. Because when real estate becomes a vault for money instead of a place to live, the cracks don't just appear in concrete, they appear in the very foundation of our cities. What began as a monument to luxury has become a cautionary tale. A skyline once built to impress, now cracks under the weight of silence, lawsuits, and mistrust. More than 1,500 defects, $250 million in lawsuits, and a growing realization. When prestige is sold before safety and value is measured in shadows cast across cities, who really pays the price? Because the truth is, Billionaires Row isn't broken by accident. It was built this way, deliberately, quietly, and legally. And if it could happen here, in the heart of Manhattan, where else is it already happening? What do you think? Is this an isolated scandal or a warning for cities everywhere? Let us know in the comments. And if you feel that pull to keep searching, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a step in our journey to uncover what still hides on this earth. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.